You're out of control sexually and you can't stop. You know it's hurting you. Maybe it's killing your wife, or it would if she knew. You're stuck in a cycle of lying, hiding, escaping, and you've been doing it in some form for decades. Trust me, I know what you're going through. I've been there, and I'm sorry. You're wondering, how the heck did I get here? Or maybe you're the partner of someone struggling, staring at a man you barely recognize, asking yourself, how could he do this to me? How could he lie like this? Today, I'm gonna break it down and tell you exactly what actually causes porn addiction, because it's not what you think. It's not primarily about porn. I'm Craig Perra, and I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, and for the past 13 years, my wife and I have empowered thousands of men from over 30 countries to create and sustain healthy sexuality, integrity, and a great life. And I've learned something very important. The porn, the other unhealthy behaviors are always the symptom of deeper underlying issues. You must understand what causes porn addiction if you want to stop porn addiction. And it's not because you're evil, broken, or beyond help. There is hope. So let's figure out what actually causes porn addiction. Before we go any further, let's get something straight. Porn addiction is not a recognized mental health disorder. There's no official diagnosis, no universally accepted treatment protocols. The American Psychiatric Association studied it and rejected it. The results were inconsistent and poor. The World Health Organization rejected it, but instead went with compulsive sexual behavior disorder, which is a process disorder, not an addiction. And the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, the oldest professional sexual health organization, they've outright rejected the porn addiction model. They say it's not just ineffective, they say it's harmful. And that matters, because if you're trying to treat this like alcoholism with shame, abstinence, and powerlessness, you're missing the real issues. You're not addressing the root causes. So let's talk about what actually causes porn addiction. The lying, the hiding, the escalation. We're gonna talk about the training, because what you're dealing with isn't just compulsive porn use. That's the symptom. What you're dealing with is a trained pattern of lying, hiding, compartmentalizing. You know, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde thing you got going on? It's a function of poor coping strategies, also known as stress and anxiety, and low self-esteem. And that pattern comes from two places: your biology and environment. Your biology, the inherited vulnerability. We need to understand that because it's important to know what we're dealing with. Fact. Men are biologically wired to be more visually stimulated, to crave novelty, and to be more sexually assertive. That's not a justification, that's evolution. As Dr. Helen Fisher, biological anthropologist at Rutgers University, explains, testosterone drives the male brain to seek novelty, including new sexual partners. Men are more biologically wired to respond to visual sexual cues and variety. This is observable across cultures and history. Now, combine that natural wiring with your genetics, and we're looking at real, measurable risk factors for porn addiction. Just like you inherit eye color, you can also inherit depression, anxiety, ADD, OCD, bipolar disorder, traits like impulsivity, emotional dysregulation, or hypersensitivity. And the genes that drive these traits, they impact dopamine regulation, your brain's reward system, and serotonin levels, which regulates mood, anxiety, and impulse control, and stress reactivity, how your central nervous system handles rejection, fear, and discomfort. And then you have us brothers with narcissistic traits. You know, the ones that drive you to be successful, the ones that help you compartmentalize, well, they are highly relevant. So yes, some men are biologically wired to be more impulsive, more reward-seeking, more emotionally reactive. And when that wiring gets reinforced through behavior, it becomes a pattern fast. And this isn't an excuse, it's about explaining. And to the partners watching this, I know this can be hard to hear, but this isn't about excusing betrayal or minimizing pain. It's about understanding what we're actually up against so we can heal the real problem and build something better. Because if we don't understand the biology, we'll keep fighting the wrong battle. And guys, you don't have to say, I'm an addict over and over again for the rest of your life. You're not an addict, you're a man. And you've had this powerful force growing inside you in isolation, in darkness, in shame since childhood. You were never trained to honor and respect this power. Instead, you were trained to lie, to hide and regulate distress and low self-esteem with sex. And that leads us to your environment, or what I like to call the training. Every porn addict I've ever worked with, and we're talking thousands of men, has roots in childhood. That's where the training begins, and that's where the sexual part of you was first shaped in the shadows. I bet you can remember right now back to when you were a child and remember the first naked pictures or videos that you saw. What else do you remember about that age? Nothing, right? That's how deep it is. But wait, there's more, because sex probably wasn't talked about, or if it was shamed. Maybe you were told your urges were dirty, or maybe you were touched or had another messed up childhood sexual experience, or maybe you were ignored or controlled or made to feel like you were never good enough. Maybe your religion taught you that desire itself was a sin. And in that environment, your young nervous system learned, porn makes me feel better, porn helps me escape, and I need to hide it. You were trained to sneak, to lie, to shame yourself, then soothe yourself with the same thing that caused the shame. That's the training that causes porn addiction, and what wires together, fires together. Your brain's reward system, dopamine, adrenaline, survival chemicals got hijacked. Every time you clicked, you reinforced the loop. Feel bad, escape, feel better, feel shame, escape again. Loop, 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 and the longer that loop runs, the harder it is to break. And that's why you feel like you're living two lives. There's this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because you are. Part of you was trained, literally neurologically wired to use porn to cope, escape, survive, and lie about it since childhood. It is one of your oldest and most impactful habits. Think about that. So what causes porn addiction? Biology plus environment equals training, and that training runs deep. But here's the good news. That what was trained can be retrained. Thank you, neuroscience. Now, this might be a little difficult to hear, but the truth is the porn addict can't help it. You can't help it. You lack capacity. You can't help it when you act out, just like your partner can't help getting angry and feeling resentful and betrayed when she catches you, even though she's been told 1,000 times that your addiction isn't about her. And I don't mean this in the you have no responsibility way, but in the neurological, behavioral, and emotional capacity sense. You are literally not equipped to make the right choices consistently over extended periods of time. We are not dealing with a morality problem. We're dealing with a capacity problem. You really can't help it. You do not. I repeat, have the capacity to make the right choices consistently over extended periods of time. You don't have the systems, the tools, the skills, the mindfulness, the accountability, the self-control, the self-care, the self-esteem, and healthy coping strategies. And you certainly don't have a self-leadership framework to lead the parts of you that are out of control. You're out of control because you were never trained to be in control. You lack capacity. And that's why you keep failing. And that's why the lying won't stop. That's why those rock bottom moments that feel so transformative never stick. It's not you. Feeling shame isn't a strategy. Talking about your feelings isn't a system. And labeling yourself a sex addict for life doesn't create change for many people. And most of what you've been taught out there, it's wrong. It's outdated. It focuses on symptoms while the root causes go untouched. If you want control, you have to build capacity. And that means retraining your mind, your habits, your central nervous system, and your life. So now you know you weren't born broken, you weren't cursed, you weren't destined to destroy everything good in your life. You were trained by your childhood, trained by your trauma, by your culture, by silence, by shame. But now you're here. You want to live, to lead, to love, to rebuild, and you can. Because what was trained can be retrained. You need a system, a strategy, a structure, and not just a fire in your belly. You need to become the leader of your own life. And here is a commercial for our program. If any of this connects with you and you have a nagging suspicion that a lot of what you're doing might be misplaced, then reach out. We're not therapy, we're not 12 steps, it's a system, a battle-tested blueprint over 13 years to help you build capacity to create the life you were meant to live. Because this isn't about managing a problem. It's about building something so strong, so powerful, so purpose-driven that the porn problem loses its grip on you completely. So if you are done playing small with the most important part of your life, your sexuality, this powerful force, your integrity, your power, click the link. Join the new sexual revolution where men are awakening to this reality. Our sexual energy is powerful, and with great power comes great responsibility. Click below to wield that power better, and be sure to like, subscribe, comment with questions. I will answer them, and share this with someone who needs it. Thanks for watching. I'm Perra with the Mindful Habit System.